Live from Ghent, Belgium, it's the Engage 2015 Keynote with IBM, Kramer Reeves, and Uffe Sorensen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you're still alive. I saw some very tiny eyes last night. Well, this morning, to be honest. But glad you're all here. This sounds so hard in my ears. So, this is our 7th big event. I hope you like the location. I think it's good. So, I know you've seen this slide before, but it's just for the fact that I want to make sure that you know why you're here. You want to learn, listen, talk with people, and most of all, have a lot of fun. This place is from the early 19th century, and it is still in use by the university itself for doing important events and important sessions, to speak. Know that this is the last day that you can sit in these chairs, because tomorrow they're going to rip them off. Literally. So tomorrow there's a team coming in and they're going to tear this whole place down and renovate it. So we could have waited, of course, but this is where you go after this session. So around 11 o'clock, we will move the whole circus to the other location. And that's the oldest parcel from the 13th century. It is really stunning. Some people have already been there. It's just incredible. Just so you know that the white hall on the right-hand side, that's the refectory. That's where the monks, it's an old monks monastery, that's where the monks used to eat. Below it is an ossuary. You know what ossuary is? It's a place chock full of bones. So don't go too deep. We might lose it. So, some figures. We got 50 sessions. You knew that. 65 different speakers from all over the world. There are 38 champions, IBM champions present, out of 96, 97? 97. We got our champion murder here as well. And 30 of them were speaking. We got 325 registrations this year. That's almost exactly the same as last year. So no increase this time, I guess. Going to Ghent will scare off a lot of Dutch people. 84% of people here are not from the Benelux. So Benelux for you guys, not from the Benelux means Belgium, Luxembourg, and Netherlands. And from 20 different countries. And 1 out of 3 has never been to a BLUG or Engage event. Who is here for the first time? Raise your hand. This is just something that could be interesting. Look at the huge number of people from the Czech Republic. Where are the guys? Look at that. They came all the way from Czech Republic. This is a question I've been asked every time. And I said, I'm going to publish it. So here you go. 55% are business partners. Know that all speakers and booth babes are included as well. 1 out of 3 is what IBM calls a regular customer. And 12% are IBMers. But that's not important. This is important to me.
Yeah.
Alright? We're all IBM collaboration solution users. Whether you're an IBMer, or whether you're a business partner, or whether you're a customer. We're all users. We're all happy with what we have. A little word for our sponsors, because they make sure that this event is free. And it costs a lot of money to organize things, to set things up. So definitely go there, talk to them. They got some really cool stuff to show you. We got sponsors from as far as Australia coming here for you. each of the sponsors for just 3 minutes. Let's make it 4. 3? You just go to their booth with a beer in your hand, good Belgian beer, of course, and you visit their booths and you check them out without any obligation. If it's interesting, you come back the day afterwards. These are them. Give them a round of applause, please. So, some practical stuff. You will receive the bag. Oh, I forgot a bag. I had a bag to show you. Somewhere. But it's a nice bag. You will receive it when you go to the main venue. You will receive it there. There's a lot of useful information there, but also pretty a few cool, engaged branded items in there. Just find it. You love it. The event guide which you all received has a floor plan. It's easily reachable. All of the session rooms are easily reachable, but it's, you can take the elevator, but stairs will be good for you. Otherwise, you sit all day. You can use your smart device, and by the way, the mobile application is written by Paul Harrison, who's here. Where's Paul? There's Paul. Paul, thanks a lot. Great job. Definitely download it. Once you downloaded it, you don't need any internet connection. It's all cached in memory, and you can just move from one to the other. All the vendors have a Twitter ID and a QR code. Well, the Twitter ID if you have a Twitter ID, of course. We have 4 breakout rooms, we can do that. Coffee and tea will be available the whole day. And there's lunch. The Wi-Fi, I would particularly ask for a difficult password. No, that's not true. I mean, it was university policy. I tried, I moved heaven and earth to get them to change it, but it didn't. That's how it works. The Wi-Fi will not be strong. But maybe you figured it out already. I told them up front that we will rip down their Wi-Fi, as we usually do at these conventions. I said, no worries. I said, yes, worries. But don't abuse it. Don't. Luckily, Apple, for once, doesn't release a new version of their iOS version. And even if they did, don't, please. Okay, some more stuff. We're almost there. Then I'll let the big guys speak. Tomorrow morning, we start very early, at 8 o'clock. We got some incredibly good speakers tomorrow morning. I think Felix is there, talking about IBM and Salesforce, interesting combination. We got Gab Davis talking about single sign-on. We got Klaus and Wannes talking about TDI. And who's the fourth one again? Come on, guys. You got the agenda in front of you. Who's the fourth one tomorrow? Ulrich. Oh, sorry, I forgot you. Ulrich has a session on MVC, which is the upcoming technology you have to use. So, I mean, have a beer, have a few more beers tonight, but try to get up and go to that session because it's really worth it. You regret it when you didn't go. So, that's a hashtag we need to use. We have set up an agenda wall inside the main area, and the agenda wall is also, well, you love it. We have a lot of breaks. Between every session there are breaks, so go to the booths, talk to the guys there, and when you leave, if it's the day you leave or you leave tomorrow, hand in your badge, and you will get a nice engaged gift that you have every year. Oh yeah, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Philips Hue, but it's really cool lamps, and you can win them if you fill in the evaluation form afterwards. Okay, a few special sessions I need to mention. Tomorrow we got Ask IBM. That means that Kramer will be in charge, IBMers will sit in front, and you can ask them your toughest question, which I try to avoid answering. We got a very interesting session at noon about changing our technology. Paul Mooney and Gab Davis are hosting these. And then we got tomorrow tomorrow at noon, we got a session about what's going to happen with BLUG 2016. What are your ideas? So the guys there and Amanda and Ollie are going to host that, and they want your feedback. What do you think should happen? How do we go about it? And this is even more important. The bar opens at 6 tonight. We've got plenty of good beers, and it's also open at the as you can see. And the speech sponsoring starts 5 minutes later, so you've got 5 minutes to grab a beer, and then we start the speech sponsoring. And tomorrow we close around 5, and we've got a closing session. There's a lot of stuff to win, so be there or be square. All right. Our 3 keynote speakers. First of all, we got Uwe, sitting here in the second. Uwe is the industry cloud solution leader for half of the world, actually. Kramer Reeves is the director of product management for the ESS group, and he knows everything about Verse. And Renee Schimmer is coming as well. And Renee is a product manager for Connections. And Omar Davidson just arrived. I have no idea what he's going to talk about. We'll find out. So guys, enjoy these 2 days. Learn, listen, share, have fun too, engage.
Seeing you guys, but simply wasn't possible for him to make it last minute. So what we're going to do is we change the program just a little bit. We will of course run the session anyway. I'd like to just first of all, yes, the usual disclaimer. There are things you shouldn't do because you're going to load the network. There are other things you shouldn't do because we're going to talk through a couple of things on our roadmap, products we are going to come up with, releases we're going to do, and we would really appreciate that you actually do not tweet or blog about our roadmap information. We will make things public in due time, but please let us control that. We would like to share the information with you guys anyway, because we think it's critically important that you understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what's happening over the next couple of years. But please, for the time being, keep it to yourself. The agenda we're going to follow looks something like this. I'd like to talk a little bit about the strategy we're pursuing. I'll then hand over to Kramer, who's going to take you through what we're doing from a product viewpoint in terms of the various products that builds up the area of email applications and so forth. He will also have Omar. So Omar is going to be here. He's actually going to run a Verse demo, and we're going to do that inside Kramer's session. And then we're going to hand over to Renee Schimmer, who's going to talk more about the connection side. You'll see all that in due time. And I'll do a wrap up, and we intend to finish at about 11 o'clock, so we can walk back to the main tent. But this is an awesome venue to be in. Not only is the facade, when you walk in, look like Panton, but if you're on the inside, it also looks like Panton. If you know the Panton in Rome, the ceiling and the little hole in the ceiling where the smoke will get out from sacrifice funerals and stuff like that. So this is quite an amazing place. I'd like to introduce a few other people in the audience also to make sure that you know who they are, because we got a couple of the key leaders from the ICS business in Europe with us today. First, I'd like to introduce Huguet. Huguet is the VP of all the business we do in IBM Collaboration Solutions and Smart Workforce. And if you need anything, you can always grab Huguet and both have a discussion about what we do, why we do it, and get help. For the business partners in particular, Eduardo, who is leading the channel business for ICS in Europe. And for the more technically inclined, Mark Osborne, who is leading the technical sales business in Europe. So we've got some of the key leaders who are actually here and can go grab them if you need to. I'd like to point out another person also, which is Laurent Bous, who is actually leading a lot of the work that we do in IBM on cloud, analytics, mobile, and security, and so forth. And he does that for the Benelux. But we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. What I'd like to do first is spend a little bit of time on what has happened over 2014 and just put a little bit in perspective some of the dramatic changes that's going on in IBM. I mean, it's clear to everybody that the industry is changing. Yes, what a surprise. It really is. But I want to make sure that you understand that from an IBM viewpoint, we believe that we are very much taking some very strong leadership positions in all the aspects of change going on right now. So 2014 was really a year where we made some very big bets on what we think is the appropriate future for delivering services to people, delivering groundbreaking new technologies, and completely changing how a business can actually take advantage of IT to actually further its own purposes, understand better what they do, drive better products, engage better with their customers, whatever their purposes really are. One of the first things that happened was in about the summertime where we announced the alliance with Apple, where IBM and Apple has decided to become the absolute leaders in mobility from an enterprise viewpoint. So we announced a partnership on how we could jointly build applications, uniquely designed, uniquely supporting various industry topics, and making sure that we started a new class of industry applications for the Apple device platform. We actually ended up shipping about 10 applications by the end of 2014 that address quite a number of industry-specific areas. So we have a very unique position here, and that's a work that is most definitely driving forward. We have received a lot of very good feedback from people that are adopting the capabilities we do, and we also expect quite a lot in the overall alliance between IBM and Apple on impact on our viewpoint on the design and capabilities of our products, and also from an Apple viewpoint for their entry and having a much broader appeal in an enterprise space beyond being a consumer leadership. The other big thing that happened was that you heard a lot about Watson, I'm sure, but last year in about September, we entered into a new era of what we call Watson Analytics. Watson has been working for a while on driving cognitive computing, and you know the anecdotal examples of Watson winning in Jeopardy over the prevailing masters in Jeopardy. That's quite a number of years ago by now. But we have certainly developed Watson much further, and some of you have seen Watson appear in various contexts, like in medical society and helping cancer diagnosis, in helping diagnose in geriatrics and so forth. So quite a number of areas where we've seen Watson appear. What we started last year was a sort of free trial actually, where people could try to use Watson for analytics. So you have the ability, you can upload your own data to Watson. You can start using Watson for your analytics and understanding the data, whatever this is, that you want to understand better to actually, and it's for free, you can just go look at it and play with it, so you learn better what Watson can actually do for you, and really new ways of where cognitive computing can help you. We're going to talk a little bit later also about how we embed cognitive computing in what we do. So for instance, you can have Watson become your assistant and help you in your day-to-day business. and we're going to talk about some examples there. And that doesn't matter whether you work through Connections, or whether you work through Verse or Domino. We see ways where Watson can become your personal digital assistant and help you in having a much easier day-to-day business. The other fundamental change in our approach to what we do was the alliance that we announced with Twitter, where IBM now have unique access to the enormous amount of data that exists in Twitter. If you think about having access to anything in Twitter, if you think about combining that with appropriate analytics, you have some fantastic tools to understand sentiment in the market, to understand product perception, to understand what's happening when you do a product introduction, for instance. How does it work? You can break this down in any way, shape, or form and perform the appropriate analytics and on what's going on, understanding where your business is positioned, understanding how people are reacting to things happening in the world, in the marketplace. And this is, again, a very, very unique offer from IBM. There is no one else that has that capability or that access. So if you look at some of those major things that we did overall in the industry, the Apple Alliance on completely changing how you can use like Apple devices in an industry context, looking at the Watson analytics on how you can start using cognitive computing to help your day-to-day business analytics, and last but not least, the Twitter Alliance, to make sure that we can actually use that enormous amount of data for productive use in a business today. So that has really been some significant steps that we've been taking. To hear more about some of this stuff, I recommend the session by the one books later today. So you might want to go join that session. It's like immediately after the opening session here. Now let's turn to the enterprise social solution specifically and some of the strategies that we are driving. So beyond the major things in IBM, how does that impact what we do? What are we taking forward from an enterprise social solutions viewpoint? What is it we bring to market? First of all, I'd like to step back in time, long way back in time, because some of you may recall that actually it's the 25th year anniversary of Notes. So 25 years ago, we started down this path of Notes. Became Notes and Domino, became et cetera, and that has served us extremely well, and served you extremely well, and served about 25,000 businesses in the world today extremely well. And we believe that it will definitely continue to serve these businesses extremely well. Notes is actually, by far, one of the longest running and existing software brands, if you will, in the software industry. It has been around. I mean, if you go back to 1990, think about that, and it's still there. There's nothing else that has actually had that longevity. And by the way, there's nothing else where you can take an application that was written for release 2 and still run it on release 9. That's pretty amazing also. So this is good stuff for robust technology, and we are certainly intent on bringing that forward, which is what you're going to hear more about from Kramer in a few minutes. Because of all the aspects of applications, the way you can drive applications, the way you can host applications, we are keenly focusing on how we can transform from the traditional on-premises client-server deployment to a modern ability to consume services from the cloud or deliver your services from the cloud, or whichever way that you want to set up your environment. On the email side, we also believe that email could actually be looked at. I mean, email is not going to go away. I mean, there have been a lot of discussions that people say, well, I'm not going to use email anymore. I'm only going to use, first it was instant messaging, then it was SMSs, then it was, then we're only going to use social. But guess what? Email is still there. This asynchronous delivery method of information and routing is actually quite unique. And it's a paradigm that's not going to go away no matter what people say. So we decided that we need to look at it, and what you'll hear more about later in Verse is how we view the next generation of the user interface to mail is going to evolve. Not changing mail, it's still Domino running the mail. Your mail is still your mail. And it works still like mail did. But you can actually have a better user experience. And what you've seen over the past couple of years, we started with Notes, we introduced iNotes to give you a browser-delivered user experience. We started delivering Traveler to give you a mobile experience, but it's still the same mailbox. And now we're building Verse, which gives you a significantly more productive way to actually work and manage your day-to-day business. Still email in the background, but helping you be more productive. Some of the steps that we took in 2014 that we talked about was like, we didn't talk about what I'll mention here. Beyond what we talked about is that we introduced like Connections, version 5 in 2014. We have just gone through the announcement of Verse, and tomorrow we will make Verse available generally. We will talk about later today also about how we're going to work with BLUG and how the IBM new approach to providing a developer environment that has a global reach and has a very different way of actually allowing you to build, drive, test, and work with applications, and making sure that Domino and Connections become part of that. And we will also talk about the integration of WhatsApp. If you look at some of the other things we're going to bring out, which are absolutely also interesting, is Connections Next is going to ship in 2015. Randy Schimmer is going to talk more about that this session and later today. And we also have the Connections Cloud, which is going to have quite a number of upgrades happening now. And one thing that a number of you have been waiting for is the Actions Advantage support that allow us to provide an appropriate compliance management on data on top of Connections Cloud. One of the other things that also clearly shows how we're trying to break new ground in IBM is something that you wouldn't ever thought IBM would get into like a few years ago. But we are now in the Connections Cloud starting to make the Connections Files offering. And yes, we are competing head-to-head with Dropbox. So you can now go set up a subscription to Connections Files Cloud, and it is a head-on competition with Dropbox, except we're better. We provide more security, provide more function, and if you look at the analyst report from Forrester about file sharing and capabilities, you will see that IBM by far is leading, is the segment of the market. So I think it's some radical new news from us actually to step into competing in these otherwise consumer spaces. And you'll see in a few other things we do later that we are really trying to change and embed and adopt some of the capabilities that you all have been asking us to look at over what's happening now in 2015 and 16. The major thing is, of course, that Verse is going to GA tomorrow. Those of you who have signed up and are waiting to get going on Verse, tomorrow is the day when we go generally available. And basically, I'm not going to go through the details of this, but mention that there's another thing that will also be available very, very soon, which is the free version of Verse, because we are making a version of Verse available that's, again, we go head-to-head competition with Dropbox, so why not go to competition with Gmail also, which is exactly what we do. We're providing a free version of Verse that allow you to actually create a mail account in the cloud and allow you to use that for your own private purposes. If you haven't signed up yet for a Verse subscription, here's a good place for you to go. Some are already there, some of us will get there later in the second quarter. We're looking forward to it. Let me introduce Kramer, who's going to talk more about the details of what we do.
Okay, thank you, Faye. Nice job. Before I get started, I feel like I want to come out here and like hold a big, like Roman or Flemish, legal document and say this is the law. This is what we're going to do. I think Theo said that this was part of the law school originally. I'm just overwhelmed at how beautiful a space this is. So hopefully the presentation will match the environment. And Uwe, thanks, you did a great job in setting up the strategy that is driving a lot lot of the investments in our particular division. And there's a little confusion here on the division name. You see ICS and ESS. We actually just made a shift, so it's the same division. IBM Collaboration Solutions is now Enterprise Social Solutions, with us reporting actually up through the analytics group. And this is important because what I'm about to talk to you about, especially with the roadmap, is influenced maybe more than anything by the investments in analytics and some of the acquisitions we've done, not just in our analytics division, but also across IBM and Watson. So just one point of clarification on the name so you're aware of this. So let's get into this. I'll talk to you about the roadmap and some of the investments we made. Let me start with the first half key investments that we're making across the portfolio. And I'm going to be speaking essentially from a division view, so you have a sense of not only the messaging, but also our unified collaboration and communication, our social, some of our social capabilities, and Renee will complement me there, and of course our application development investments too. So you can see, here a number of big bets that we've made. Of course, in the cloud, we're in the process of moving to software around the world. We're already in software in the United States and in Europe from day one. We'll then get Japan on software very soon. But we're also expanding our data center presence in various countries. The next one to come online being Germany. IBM Docs has a release that's coming out. Quite a bit of capabilities, and I'll go into detail on that shortly. We made a commitment around Portal and Connections. Renee's going to be showing you a little bit of the demo and some of the new capabilities we have there. I'll show you the migration tool and some of our onboarding improvements that we've made from significant investment on the design team, along with just a better experience overall as well. Actians, if I mentioned, the Actians plans that we have, it's actually a three-phased approach with compliance that we're taking. We started with social in our announcement last January to bring a governance and compliance solution from Actians called Alcatraz as the primary social compliance solution for IBM. We then committed to do that in the same time space, and so we're on track to do that as well on the same compliance platform. And now we started looking at that from a messaging perspective for those customers who want to buy a single compliance solution from us on the single platform. We also continue to invest in our Archive Essentials capabilities, and that is available today in the cloud as well. Metrics and reporting is a big part of where we're heading as well. You'll see some of the analytics tools that we've added to the portfolio, and we're continuing to develop this environment where being on the cloud and having access to this mountain of data, we can give you, either as administrators or business leaders, better insight into where your employees are spending time, especially if you take it that next step to who and what they're focused on. Communications based on various channels creates data that you can analyze that can tell you, well, maybe we need to focus our efforts in a different part of the business. Verse, in fact, is being prepared to do that. And then further integration and embedding of IBM Docs with a Content Manager, also some entitlements there that we're working on as well. The second half gets very exciting as we move towards our first phase of some of the cognitive realization as we bring in the personal assistant technology from our Watson group into the social space. In fact, we hired a gentleman named Rob Koplowitz from Forrester recently. Rob joined our team at the beginning of the month, and his primary mission is to help us reimagine this cognitive experience in the world of social. Rob was the thought leader and leading analyst for Forrester for many years. Previous to that, he worked in enterprise software at Oracle, Microsoft, and IBM as well. So very excited to have Rob on board on our team as a product manager leading the social space. Lots of engagement advisor updates there as well. This ties in very nicely to our social experience around profiles and with the social networking, and being able to capitalize on some of the recommendation engines that play into where we're going with Verse as well. A lot that's going on around Domino, and not only from a messaging perspective, but also from an application development view. You'll hear a lot about BLUG. We've got a great session on that. We'll talk a little more about the roadmap and the cloud, and the importance of bringing along our applications not only to the web, but also into the cloud as Verse matures and becomes available first on the cloud as well. Probably the most exciting news at the last user group event that we were at in Bremen last week was around the Notes and Domino roadmap, the long-term commitment. So I'll go into some detail around that. We do have our intent to have a release this year and bringing to market the next availability of Notes Domino, along with that being the basis for the Verse on-premises availability as well. So these are two major sets of investments that the team is looking at right now, and we are intending to do that in the second half. Further integration with Microsoft across the portfolio, although we recognize we want to deliver we of course want to deliver a complete portfolio of integrated capabilities. That's what we have created. We do recognize many customers have the need to work with Microsoft and utilize Microsoft's environment. So further integration there, just as we've provided integration with Microsoft Mail, in Connections, and also into the IBM messaging space. We'll show a little bit around Navigator. This is an exciting capability from the content management portfolio, and a key part of how we continue to link our social story and our broader Connections capabilities deeper into ECM, enterprise content management. Language translation is just one of a major set of capabilities that we have that we've been exploring around how do we help our users collaborate better across geographies and across time zones. I was working with a customer recently who has deployments in various locations of our Connections environment, and the ability to easily do translations for teams who are collaborating is becoming a primary requirement. So we'll start introducing these type of capabilities as well. This is a U.S. item, the Federal Compliance Data Center, but it also speaks to the security and compliance metrics that we have and milestones around the entire environment. So we'll develop that. We'll have that coming on board as well. And as you see on the next item, the local operations for the EU data centers will be available as well. We're also very close to finalizing the details around a universal license. This will simplify dramatically the hybrid environments that many customers are embracing as they start to take those first steps into the cloud, so that you can simplify your whole licensing agreement. We're planning on having that available in the second half. That may actually be moved forward slightly. So this is a quick summary. I want to go into some detail on a number of these items, but you can see that this is a pretty heavy dose of investment for our development teams and our architects, along with our business partners as well in many situations, as we get ready for an exciting 2015 that we're already almost into the second quarter in. Now, it's not just the technology. Before I go into the roadmap, I think one of the things that you all have told us and that we recognize in order to be competitive here is that we need to amp up our marketing. And although IBM corporate marketing is quite strong, we've got a big software portfolio, and sometimes various parts of the portfolio may not get all the attention that it might need. And we've changed that in this division over this last year, especially as we introduced IBM Verse as a lightning rod for the investments that we're making in this portfolio. In fact, the overall impressions from not only our initial announcement at Connect 2014, but also for our signature moment in November, exceeded those of the Watson portfolio in impressions. I think you all know we trended up to the top 10 of Twitter globally as we announced the vision here. A lot of that is because of you and the excitement, and also a lot of questions and anticipation of, well, what is this experience going to be? So, as we continue throughout the year, we recognized that we had to continue to invest heavily, and it was very exciting from a marketing perspective to see print and media advertising come online for this space. So maybe if you were in the U.S., you've seen this, or perhaps online you've seen this, but let me play this really quickly for you.
Most of us admit to being overwhelmed by information at work. Verse. It uses powerful analytics to uncover hidden patterns in your email, calendars, and social feeds. It continuously learns how you work and helps you prioritize the people and projects you need to focus on. There's a new way to work, and it's made with IBM.
So this was one of a number of advertisements that came live in Q1 in the US and North America. It's part of the broader rollout of the campaign called New Way to Work. And to get media is very exciting, but that needs to be complemented by a full 360-degree marketing campaign, which we've begun executing, as you can see. We were at CeBIT last week. We were at South by Southwest in the US, Mobile World Congress before that. We're in road shows around the world. And on Wednesday, we kick off a demand generation program that goes into all of the geographies as well. And so it's not just the technology that's important here from a business perspective. It's also the heavy investment in our channel programs and the marketing plans, and it's quite exciting to have this investment occurring. So just a little bit about the outreach there that really does complement the investments we're making from a technology perspective. Now, one of the other things that's important is how do we expand the value? And it really comes down to the ecosystem and the partners that we're working with to keep that channel robust, and also to create the extensions and the extensibility that we want, so that this combined application and messaging experience that's been so successful for so long can continue to live and thrive. And so far, we've onboarded well over 50, I think we're up to the 80s, partners who are ready to tackle the Verse onboarding, and also who are preparing for the extensions and the APIs that we're soon to release, so that you can continue to deliver the type of applications that your customers are utilizing. In fact, I was talking to a partner in Bremen, and And I couldn't believe, this is a subsidiary, Financial Solutions, a subsidiary of We for IT. I couldn't believe how many customers they had, hundreds of customers that are in the financial space based on our platform. And it's a matter of time before the opportunity surfaces to take advantage of what we're doing with Verse and to introduce this to these customers. I know many of the market partners here are in the same boat. So, thank you for your commitment here as we get ready for this this next phase. This is a big part of how we expand and what our journey is going to be. Now let's get into this journey, and I'll tell you a little bit more about details of each one of our roadmap items, so you get a sense of how significant each one of these developments are. So let's just start first off with the core portfolio and Notes Domino. We've got a whole host of capabilities, many of which have already been developed and released for various customers that we are in the process of packaging up and preparing for an intended release this year. There's a number of things here that we've been talking about that you all have been asking for over the years. I think we're excited about the Mac 64-bit support, along with continued embracing of some of the integration, such as with Microsoft Calendar. The rules are an interesting part of what we're doing as well. Part of where we're heading with the analytics is an ability to have the rules be captured based on saved searches and based on normal user interaction. So although we're going to be running rules on existing messages, these capabilities will come in. Some of the things you'll see in Verse when we show you this, the intent is to simplify some of the rule creation as we move forward. There's some basic capabilities like forward meeting invitations that we think are critical that we want to add. But there's very strategic improvements and decisions as well, such as the support for Microsoft Outlook, changing that from limited availability to a general availability. Now, for those who aren't aware, this has been in market for over a year now as a limited availability feature. And that is a fully supported capability that customers can get access to. We do have hundreds of customers that take advantage of that as a point of integration with our Notes Domino environment. We're also looking at that in the cloud as well as we bring a plan for Outlook support to market. Calendar delegation is also coming, and then some of the internet access and notes addresses displaying is another part of the strategy here. And then last but not least is the Verse on-premises direction. This is where we have a strong desire from a lot of customers to take advantage of what Verse offers, yet they're not quite ready to move to the cloud. And I just want to get a show of hands here. How many customers or partners, and IBMers as well, are working in the cloud at some point or have some plans to do that in 2015? Okay, so that's about 40 to 50%. And I'm just going to ask this, let me take this out about 3 more years. Over the next, 3 years, the same question. What's the cloud appetite like? In 3 years, who's going to be in the cloud? Okay, so that goes up to about 80%. So that's somewhat of what we're seeing, but there is reluctance, and we're recognizing that as such. There's some things we're doing to help you get more comfortable with the concerns you have moving to the cloud. And one of the things is, of course, bringing Verse on premises. Okay, so we're going to get into some more Notes Domino futures in a bit, but back to the cloud. And Smart Cloud Notes, a long list of capabilities capabilities here. Of course, Verse is built on Smart Cloud nodes, so anything that comes online with our SCN environment also comes to market in Verse. A number of things that we talked about over this past year, including the onboarding capability, and I'll show you a little video of this in just a second, of how we improved onboarding for better insight and migration of users. Departmental administration is also a new feature. That's probably one of the most important ones down at that detail level. Forwarding invites, this carries over from on-premises. Improved calendar. We have a 50 gigabyte mail quota as well, and this has got a potential to increase as we move forward also. Business forms and workflow is a key part of what we're trying to do. This continues some of the key tenets of the Notes Domino environment of being able to deliver workflow and a degree of task management. We'll talk some more there. Auditability, and I talked a bit about some of the journaling capabilities we have. There's improvements there that I'd like to make. If you haven't seen some of the Smart Cloud the archiving essentials capabilities, some of the capabilities there are just quite outstanding, yet we do recognize that there's some auditing capabilities we need to put into the core product. And then skipping down to the Notes Browser plugin, this is a key investment as well as we see more customers moving to the cloud. Of course, this is our fastest growing product in the division, growing at triple and sometimes 4-digit rates. There is a strong demand to bring those applications along as well, and so any resistance around the cloud and not having those apps can be mitigated by the plugin, and so we're continuing there. We have updates and betas coming very soon. And then I mentioned the support for Microsoft Outlook, bringing that to the cloud. We've already looked at some detailed plans on how to do that. So not all of these are going to be coming available in 2015, but if I had my way, I would try to get all of these into market by then. We are going to be prioritizing, and you can see that these are things that you all have brought forward to us. And so more on that as the year progresses. Docs, as I shift gears here, as we think about the overall portfolio, Docs has done quite well for us over 2014. There's a number of improvements that we're working on. One of the ones that's probably most exciting for us is around presentation editing and the specific spreadsheet editing improvements. And the thing that's not on here that we're working on as well is around mobile and some of the mobile editing that we're working on. So Docs continues to be a very useful tool around the collaborative editing space, both on-premises and in the cloud. A nice parity of capabilities for both of those versions. Shifting gears to meetings. How many folks are same-time users? Okay, great. And how about how many are using, anybody using Unite for meetings? Okay, a couple. And anybody using cloud meetings? Okay, more than I thought. Good. So I'll hit all three of these here. I'm going to hit meetings, which is I'll hit meetings and I'll hit chat and I'll hit same time on premises. Quite a bit of investment going on here. We brought Fernando Salazar into my team to lead the product management. Recently, he's a distinguished engineer and leads the product management business direction. So he has these products. He's working very closely with our cloud teams and a number of updates that we have coming up. I think the most exciting one is the multi-way audio and video coming to the cloud. This has been tested out. We're using that now inside of IBM, working very nicely. The whiteboarding capability as well is another one that's an aspiration that I have to help really modernize this experience of meetings. been working with one of the analyst firms, Frost and Sullivan, to start looking at the physical and virtual meeting space of the future. What is the audio-video requirement along with the physical space? I was down at Enterprise Connect, the trade show in Orlando, witnessing what a lot of the industry is moving to in these kind of environments, virtual environments, tailored with some of the latest technology. And so we're combining our thinking here in both virtual and real-world design, and the meetings capability is a cornerstone of what IBM is doing here. Very exciting as we look at video becoming almost ubiquitous in our day-to-day lives. So quite a few additional capabilities from a meetings perspective. Let me switch gears to chat. I think of all the things that we're doing, again, chat, this is our rebranded cloud offering. So Connections Cloud, Connections Chat in the cloud is the core offering here. I do have the same time offering I'll show you next, that's an on-premises offering. So one-to-one audio and video chat that's also coming online and available, along with file transfer capabilities, and then greater security that we've invested in. And security underpins what we're doing across the board here. I just saw another TLS update that I think 1.2 that came online this morning from some of our developers in India. Very exciting to see some of the support needed as well, admittedly, in certain parts of the business. And then new APIs is another big thing that I have focused on for third-party integration and our ability to slot in easily with other applications both across IBM and across the industry. And then finally, in the same time space, the update for same time, we will rebrand same time at some point when we go into our next iteration. We did, from a branding perspective, we handled the branding to the Connections Cloud. For all of our cloud offerings, same time is still branded as it was. Chrome support is coming, video enhancements are coming, along with the Citrix support, which is one of our key updates that's coming as well. There's a few other things that I'm excited about. The meetings experience, although, I feel like the version 9 for same time and the chat and meetings are based on version 9 was a dramatic enhancement to some of the previous versions. We're about to take the same design principles that we invested in Verse and apply those to our chat meetings and same time capabilities. There's quite a bit that we can change from user experience to really just overhaul this experience and get ready for the next phase of analytics, which is the final thing that's not really shown here that we're looking at as well. Now, from an app dev perspective, very intense set of investments that are going on here. I'll talk about BLUG. Maybe more than anything, I'm excited about the APIs really across the enterprise social space and getting those up to BLUG. And that's from a Verse perspective, a Domino perspective, from an app dev view, and look at BLUG. And take advantage of the simplicity and the ease of use of truly fulfilling this service orientation and integration potential to stitch together applications. That's what's behind this massive investment in BLUG. And we're already involved in the first phase of Domino in the cloud, and with the ability to take advantage of some of the BLUG capabilities. We've also got our social file service that we've released, now moving that up to BLUG as well, the APIs there. I mentioned Verse, we've got 4 initial APIs that we're looking at related to some of the core capabilities. Probably the most exciting one is around the analytical insight API that would give an organization access access to the analytics that are derived based on the usage patterns from the individual users on Verse. So taking that API and then stitching that over to making that available in BlueMix and stitching that over to applications is a key part of what we're doing. But of course, the core APIs around mail, calendar, and contacts is a big part of what we're doing. One thing I'm not going to talk about today, but I think it's on maybe a later roadmap, I'll mention it just here, does have to do with contacts. And we feel that the contact app right now is one of the key areas where we feel there's great possibilities and potential to bring together our same time, our connections, and our Verse and Loops Domino contact capabilities, and then creating that experience in a new design fashion, and then having those APIs available. So more on that later this year. The Connections Cloud APIs, a lot of work going there. If you think about it, all of the apps and connections lend themselves to APIs. And in fact, the strategy is to go in that direction from not only the profiles and business cards, but also, you mentioned the file sharing is the first API, then to some of the community APIs like blogs, and then eventually to activities as well. And then finally, just from a core development perspective, Domino X Pages continues to get significant investment as more and more customers web enable and extend the life of their applications. And doing that with the latest technologies like Twitter Bootstrap and others is a key part of what we're trying to do. And I know Pete's here, and I think Martin Donnelly is here as well to talk a little bit about that over the next couple of days. And then finally, some of the encryption capabilities we're going to be adding in as well. So quite a bit going on here from a development perspective, and a key part, a strategic part of what we're trying to do is to support that marriage of applications, take advantage of BlueMix, service enable, create these APIs, and really prepare for this next generation as you continue to enable from a mobile perspective and extend out to the web the applications that many of you are building for your customers. Okay, and then finally, from a pure roadmap perspective, mobile. Now, there's quite a bit going on from a mobile view. I think we have one of the best mobile solutions in the industry, if not the best. I think Traveler is just an outstanding product, yet there are some things that I want to improve on. And our development team, they sit right down the hall from me. I live in, I didn't really introduce myself. I met many of you last year, but I live in North Carolina in the South in the U.S., and there's two sort of main labs in the U.S. There's the core lab up in Boston area, and outside of the Boston city, and then we have another lab in Raleigh. And a lot of the mobile resources are in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I'm based. And so I spend a lot of time talking to these folks. We have a mobile-first strategy, as you know, mobile almost first most of the time. And Paul Miller and Dan Swangler are some of our development leaders, and Sarah McCullough is my product manager, who helps lead the thinking here. We have some fantastic designers dedicated to the mobile space. You can see some of the key things that we're doing, not just for messaging, but across the entire portfolio. Bon Slavens is leading that work for us. Threading is one of the things that we're really kind of changing the thinking around, and that's not just for mail, but also on how we handle feeds and streams and alerts, as well as chat history, how to manage conversations, and do that in a simple way on a small device on the right form factor. The search capabilities we're building in to Verse are going to be available in the app out of the box mobile. And the calendar experience we've overhauled as well. When you see some of the demos with the Verse calendar, you'll see that this is a much better experience than anything natively in iOS, and even better than the Traveler app that we had for Android. Moving down to the IBM and the device and the other providers here. Last 360, which is now called, this is our FiberLink product, which is now called Mobile Connect, is our the primary or go-to-market partner. That's an IBM product now. But we also recognize the importance with Citrix, AirWatch, and Mobile Iron. So I just wanted to take a poll again. How many of you are working with Mobile Iron primarily from a mobile perspective? And how about AirWatch? Okay, and how about anybody Citrix? Okay, and how about FiberLink? Any FiberLink users? Okay, a few. So this is just, we're again at the beginning of device management and some of the capabilities here. Strongly recommend you investigate and take a look at any one of these vendors. I'd ask you to start with FiberLink and the Mobile Connect or RUS 360. But get accustomed to this and an improved environment, improved approach to security and accountability and transition that occurs when mobile devices are used in the social space. And there's a few other security items and certification based items that we're adding as well, and much more that's coming from a mobile perspective. Worth a complete session or even a complete day to talk about where we're going. One other question I wanted to ask is around users. How many are iOS users primarily today? Okay, and then how many Android primarily? Okay, and I know there's some BlackBerries. How many BlackBerry? There's a few. And I just heard, in fact, BlackBerry had a profit last quarter. So, it's interesting to see. You see turnarounds happen all the time. And then, how about Windows? How many Windows Surface or Windows? Okay. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Windows and Windows 10 and as progress goes. We're monitoring that. With Verse, we're starting with iOS, and with Android, we'll continue to take a look at dedicated apps for the Windows and BlackBerry space moving forward. Okay, so let me, hopefully you guys aren't, I'm not putting you to sleep. I know it's early in the morning, but let's kind of get excited here now about the next phase of communications from the market. It's something that IBM, that I'm extremely proud of, and that's the release of IBM Verse. So, I want to just talk to you about a few minutes about this. This portfolio that we've been building on for 25 years lends itself to another phase and another generation of value. I mean, there's an incredible amount of logic, there's an incredible amount of investment and skills, and we're going to bring that forward. I'll show you the architecture, I'll show you how we're investing in Domino, but yet there was a need to rethink some of the messaging and the social experience that a lot of users were struggling with. So we decided to invest in three big areas with Verse. We decided to, first and foremost, start with the cognitive and bring forward all these analytics that we have available at IBM. And we're just getting started there. We started with search analytics with the solar capabilities and combined that with our Lucene project. We also added in team analytics, we added in digital analytics, we've got the personal assistant coming here very shortly, and then more. The idea was that the product, the service, the software can work for me now. It's time, and analytics has come this far that it's time to have that start happening. Recommendation engines are mature, and they're smart, and they can help simplify our day. And so it's our challenge as a vendor, as an industry, to make that simple, yet to make it impactful. And that is a bold, very incredible challenge. It's one of the reasons I joined this division, and it's also one of the reasons we've been able to recruit new and exciting talent like Rob Koplowitz and others. And it's the reason why we're so excited, probably more than anything, about this release. The other element is around the design piece. So with Notes, and from an email perspective, we had created an incredibly powerful product with Notes 9 and 901. We completed the wiring and the integration with a lot of the social capabilities, yet that experience was not very exciting. It was still very choppy moving from your mail to your social environment. So we had to overhaul the design and really kind of strip it down. I was in Brussels over the weekend, and I went to see the Chagall show. Marc Chagall. Did anybody like Chagall? So one of the things I like about art, and I don't know a lot about art. My wife knows a lot about art. Is the simplicity of how artists break down and go down to sort of the core essence. When you think about Picasso's, his famous bull painting of just 2 lines. And essentially, we had to kind of strip things down when we thought about redesigning Verse as well. And we went all the way down to some of the core essence. I saw some of that in Chagall's work, and even some kind of crazy things that he did later. But it just sort of inspired me to kind of rethink the whole process of how we did this with Verse. So less clutter, more clarity was what we were going for. And then ultimately, the business strategy here was to bring social into where our users were comfortable. So although we have the market-leading product, we're market share leaders from a social perspective. Our Connections product is the leading product in the market. It's a growing market. It's still fairly fragmented, but we are number 1 and have been for the last few years, and we have a nice share there. The growth is nice, but it's not as fast as we want. So we wanted to bring more of those capabilities into the inbox, where we've got tens of thousands of other companies, millions and millions of users using those documents. So that was the third principle, bringing the social, the me to we. And it's this environment of we're all comfortable with LinkedIn and with Twitter and Facebook and various other consumer apps. Why are users in the business struggling to adopt more of the social at a faster pace to improve and to really work the way we're working in an individual environment? So that was that other big principle about connecting me to we. So just a couple of perspectives on how we developed Verse. The thing that we did was we looked at from a design view, we looked at 7 different roles. These roles that each one of us take on a daily basis. Some days we'll be we might be a sharer. Some days we might be somebody who prioritizes. This one is the social user, and so we designed an environment that is a single personalized view, and so we kind of overhaul the entire experience to say, if you're a social user, what is that experience like for you? But we didn't stop there. We knew that you change roles every 5 minutes or every hour or every 20 minutes. So you might be a social user, but then now you might be a searcher. And if you're like me, my inbox is my file management system. It's my contact management system. It's my communication history. It's my, I should admit this, it's my, customer and partner and interaction repository. It's everything to me. So, how do I find that key information? So we overhaul the experience experience for searching. We brought in faceted search technology. We created the drill down requirements, and we brought along all your folders as well, because I know many people want that. And then, of course, another role is we're always on the go. So we might shift gears and get in the car, and how does that transition from mobile back to desktop, from smartphone to tablet, how does that occur? And how do I take advantage of the 3 to 5 minutes of time that I have, after I check in, before I go through security, before I board, to be as productive as I can in those critical minutes where I have to do something. So one of the things we looked at in our design approach was we brought our users, we had sponsored users from about a dozen companies, and then we expanded that to about 50 design advisory users to help us look at the minutes in your day and the transition between a meeting to another meeting, or from a meeting to work. And there's seconds in each one of those steps that are inefficient, that are not very productive. And so how do we actually modify the environment to make that a delightful experience? So I'm going to bring Omar up, and Oliver, can you help with the transition here, just to bring his screen up, and then Omar is going to show us a demo of Verse. Omar is one of our UK or Europe-based product management leaders, and he works on the Mark Osborne's technical team here in Europe. And we'll show you a little bit about what this experience is like. You'll see how one of the most important elements of it was the desire to change the experience from searching down your inbox to try to find the next most important item of work, to having the work presented to you based on the people you interact with, or soon the projects or the groups. So we set up this environment to say, let's start with the most important people we work with that you can see up at the top. These are individual users that are analytically driven and presented, or selected by the user, presented by the system. So let's start with that, and we'll give Omar a few minutes. So thanks, Omar, and then we'll come back. I'll finish up in a second.
Thank you very much, Kramer. So first of all, I have to apologize for the fact that I'm not in a suit. I arrived at 9 o'clock last night, and they did not bring my suitcase with me. So this is what I got in, and this is what I slept in. But thankfully it's orange, so it works pretty well. I'll use the formal excuse. They wanted someone who was more hip, more trendy to do the Verse demo, which is why I'm in my shirt. So it's going to be about a 10-minute demonstration here. We're going to show what's in the product and a couple of things that aren't there yet. So if there are a few things that you haven't seen before, hopefully I won't get in trouble with the table over here by showing some of these things. But just to give you an idea of where we're trying to go with the world of Verse. So as you can see here, I'm in my user experience. I've got my people at the top. At the bottom over there, I've got my calendar. In the center, I've got some of the emails that are going through. And I noticed, first of all, that I actually have an email here from Maurice, which is titled "My Suitcase Has Arrived," which is very nice. He's letting me know that my suitcase just got in, and he took a screenshot of it for me just to make sure it's the right one. And it does seem to be the right suitcase there, so thank you, Maurice. Which means that even though my calendar tells me that I don't really have much until 12 p.m. this afternoon, once I'm done here, I'm just going to go over and check and make sure that all my clothes and all my material are ready. So that's pretty good. But since I was on the way here, I've got a couple of emails that have come through, particularly from a lady by the name of Gail Cho. As you can see here, she sent me a couple of things. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure who Gail is. So just very quickly, I'm just going to pull up her business card to make sure and find out. And it looks like she's one of our executives and vice president. So she takes a little bit of priority in my day here. So let me have a look through all these different things that Gail sent me. So first of all, she sent me something directly to me, and she's asking me whether I have any material around Project Greenwell. She's heard a lot about the new way to work, and she's wondering whether I have any material that I might be able to share with her. Since she's my exec, I probably want to give her importance, and I want to give her a personalized experience here. So rather than email, what I'm actually going to do is see if she's available online here, and I do, she's online, even though it's 4:30 in the morning. Some of our executives here at IBM don't rest. So I'm just going to bring up a little same time chat just to give her a quick, direct one-to-one. So hi, Gail. Let's see if she replies there. And there's her side of things going on. And so I start a same time chat with Gail. Hi, Gail. Thank you for reaching out. Is there anything in particular you wanted? And she says, yes, I'm looking for any material like a video or a demonstration of some of the new way to work assets that we have. I say, yeah, I have just the thing. So I'm going to pull up my file picker over here. And this brings up all my files inside the Connections Cloud platform. And I've got one called the IBM Verse video. So I'm just going to select that, send that over to Gail, and you can see that it's added there. Gail has a look through. She says, yeah, that's perfect. That's great. But I'm not sure what's the best way to present this. Do you have some time this week to talk to me? And I say, of course, you're my exec. Of course I'll make time for you. So that's no problem. She says, great. Just send something into my diary and let's organize as we go through. So I don't really want to spend too much time, trying to find the best time for my exec. So I'm just going to bring up a very quick invites here. And I'm going to look for Gail. Let's see if she comes up for me. Where are you, Mrs. Gail? There we go. And automatically, this is going to look at the recommended time. It's going to look at both of our calendars, and straight away it's going to suggest the best time for me in terms of that. Very easy, very simple. And I can see here that probably, because it's Monday today, even though it's 8:30 at night for me, it's probably afternoon for her. So let's prioritize that as a time. And I'm going to say catch up on new way to work as a title. I don't really need to put any other details for the time being, so we're just going to send that in to fluff up our calendars there. So taking care of that. Now let's have a look and see what else there is. And again, Gail sent me something else, which is a welcome email to Paul. And she's included some of the team here, which is fair enough. And it's a welcome Paul to the team. Everyone has to send the email that says, hi, Paul. So it's not really that important for me right now, so I'm just going to mark it as an action for myself and just move on as we go through. Next thing I see here is that I have one final one from Gail, which is around our Greenwell Coin volunteer program. She's letting me know that we've opened up a volunteer program. It's to help people in some of the growth markets. And if anyone's interested, it's a great way to get exposure. Since I'm the new hip and trendy employee, it's probably a good way to get my name out there. But I see that there's a couple of people in this email that I've never met before. So I know Ron and I know Scott Morris, but I don't know Scott Souder or Lily or any of the others in here. So just to very quickly and easily identify what's going on or who's included in this message, I can pull up some of the team analytics to figure out exactly where people sit inside this organization. So not only do I have Heather and Paul, who are two of my colleagues, I also have Lily over here, who is our director for IBM Notes and Social Mail Development. I also have somewhere else in the business Scott Souder, who is our program director for Notes and Development. So these are some pretty high people out there. So it would be great if I jumped at this straight away and said, guys, I'm very interested, sign me up, let's go for it. And I may not have been able to figure that out before this, but now that I know exactly where everybody is, I'm just going to send a very quick email to Gail saying me, pick me. And at the same time, I want to make sure I keep track of this, because if Gail then does respond, I want to be able to see that very quickly and very easily. So at the bottom over here, I'm going to mark this as waiting for. I'm going to set this. I'm hoping Gail comes back to me by tomorrow, but I'm going to set it for next week because she's a little busy. And I'm going to say, let's hope for the sign-up process. Waiting for sign-up process. Okay. Now, what this allows me to do is it allows me to wait for any responses, keep track of that message so I can come back to it and see if there's been any other discussions or facilities going through. So that's been pretty easy and pretty straightforward so far. I got two more unread messages that I can see here. One of them is from Mahul. Mahul is asking me whether I think any of these specific cloud deals are the best opportunities for a customer. And again, a very simple one, not something I need to take care of right now, so I'm going to get back to mobile later on. So similar as I did with my just last email, I'm going to mark this as an action. I'm going to do this by tomorrow, most likely. And just a little reminder for myself so that I can jump back to this very easily. So in this case, I'm going to say, tell mobile verse is option number 1. Okay. Just a very simple reminder for myself as we go through. Now I'm going to zoom into my screen just to give you an idea of something. You can see here that right now the message is giving me the preview of the message. Hi, Lucas, I'm looking for some information. Once I'm done with my little message, and I click over here, you'll see it now switches over to the comment itself. And what this allows me to do is that without ever having to click on a single email in my entire list, I can see exactly what I needed to do. So I managed to look through a couple of the unread messages that I had there, but I know I had a couple of things that I already needed to complete. I can tell that because at the top of the screen there, you see I have 2 red icons. One that's telling me that I have 2 actions that I need to complete, and one telling me that I'm waiting for 2 other things from my colleagues. So naturally, the most important thing for me to do is check what I have to complete. And I can see here, again, in my list, without ever having to click on one of these, I can see that my first one, I have to reply with the budget for the UK. The second one is I have to check out the painting. So this, again, is from my manager, Ron. He's asking me to check this painting out. Since Kramer was just talking about some art, figured we put this on. So I've checked the painting out. I'm just going to reply to my manager and say, nice. That's done. My action is complete. No longer need to keep track of this, so I'm just going to unmark it and take it away. And the next thing I have to do today is for Gail here, who's asking me about some marketing budget. And the team have been working on a document inside Connections files. We've been using docs to work together and make changes to those spreadsheets. So I'm just going to send Gail the latest and greatest here. So I can see that I've included Gail and a couple of other people. And what I want to do is, hi Gail, here's the latest. Have a look. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, again, I'm just going to pull up my files that live inside Connections. And here we have our UK budget plan. And I'm just going to add and close. And here I'm just going to share it directly with Gail. So again, she has access to the document that we're working with Connections. I don't have to worry about sending attachments or anything of that sort. Just sharing it directly with her. And again, just done with that, so I mark it as complete. Good stuff. Still got some time here, and just going to browse my inbox one more time. I've got 98 unread emails. I'm not going to go through all of those. But I do see one more thing here from Nancy, which is just the title of congrats. Looking into this, Nancy's talking about how we've got the approval to launch some of our mobile applications. And it's a great new initiative for the company. We have been working for months and months and months to try and get this done, and we finally managed to do it. But Nancy has only sent it to 3 people, myself, Lee Pin, and Lily. The truth is, this has been something that the entire company have been working on, our entire marketing and sales team have been doing. So I'd like to send out that congratulations to the rest of the company. How do I do that without necessarily sending an email to everybody? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose to share this to our blog, to our community that we have out there in Connections. So I know my community is called Marketing and Sales, so I'm just going to do a very quick type-in search. It's going to bring up the Marketing and Sales community as one of my options. And again, I'm just going to grab that and share that over. And then I can just paste that content over. So it's no longer in me. It's, as Kramer said, transferring from me to we, getting this out from my inbox to the rest of the company to manage all that information that we have there. So it looks like my inbox is coming along very nicely. If I just do a very quick refresh. Now we notice at the bottom of the bar again that I have my day, which is pretty clear for the time being until about 12. And then for the rest of it, you can see I have a whole bunch of other bars that are appearing at the bottom there. And this allows me to very easily figure out and identify where I need to be. So let's say around 2 p.m. I have 3 options. The one in blue is the one I've accepted so far. So I know that's the one I need to be at the campaign launch there. But I also have 2 other invitations that I haven't quite yet accepted. But what this is doing is it's giving me a very quick, one-step access to understand the important information. The title of the meeting, who's the chairman, the location of it if there's a room, the dialing detail if there's a number, And even if there's a web meeting, I have one-click access to that information. So I don't have to worry about getting the details, getting the information. It's all there, presented to me very easily and very quickly. What's more, and one of my personal favorites, is that it always tells me where my next appointment is. And in this case, my next appointment's at lunch. So pretty safe. But it gives me all that information in one go. Now, before I leave, I have one or two more things that I want to do. First of all, you notice that Gail has been pretty prominent in everything that I've been doing. She's my vice president. She got my name from my manager. And since then, I've been inundated with questions. Hi, Lucas, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you do that? Can you do this? So in that case, she's now become an important person in my life. She wasn't a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but she is today. So what I want to do is I want to emphasize that. So if I ever need to get access to any information that Gail and I are working on, or more specifically, things that Gail wants me to do, I should have that ability. So at the top here, you can see that I have the Gail bubble as part of my people. And the system is suggesting her to me as an important person right now because of the fact that she keeps sending me all these things, and I keep replying to them. So rather than having her as a suggestion, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop her over to my important bar. And this is going to pin her as someone that is important. So no matter what happens, no matter what I do, I keep that instant access to Gail. And if I ever need to reach out to her or find any information from Gail, I can just very easily, quickly click that and go through. Now, I also want to just make sure that I had a couple of other things. I remember I was doing something around a sales plan with one of my colleagues, but it was about a week ago. And so I haven't been able to, admittedly, haven't done anything much with it, but I need to find that information again inside my mail file. So the first and foremost, we were working on a sales budget plan. So I'm just going to filter everything out only by files that we've been working on together. And you can see here that it allows me to then just specify all the different things, but you can see that I've got way too many files and documents that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm just going to do a very quick search for sales and see if anything comes up. So again, this is looking through pretty much everything that I have. And I'm seeing here that I actually, again at the bottom, way back when in January, it turns out that Gail and I were talking about sales projections. And the last thing that happened was that I sent an email to Gail and the team saying, yeah, here's some info, but I haven't heard anything back. So again, one more time, I'm just going to reply to all. And rather than reply to all, I'm actually going to just reply to Gail. So I'm just going to Gail and say, hi Gail, any news? It's been a while. Now, unfortunately, sometimes in IBM, our executives aren't the most responsive, so I just have to prod her a couple of times. But again, I'm just going to make sure that I have a track for this and give her some time to set for next week and waiting for sales approval. So using the search, it was very easy for me to find this discussion. I don't even know where it exists. It exists in one of my folders sometime way back when. But just using the search capabilities, I was able to find that very quickly and very easily. Now, the last thing I want to do here is I want to pull up some of the personal assistants that Kramer was talking about. So you can see here that I have Watson as one of my bubbles that I've got going on. So I'm just going to send a very quick email to Watson over here and say, schedule a meeting for me. And I've already got the details that I wanted to put in. No, I don't. So it's going to say, schedule a meeting with Ron Siegel, Heather Reeves, and Paul Clements for next week, Friday, about, let's do Watson integration. All right, happy with that, and send that off. And the idea here is that when I send that to Watson, he'll identify the participants, the subject, and the expected time, and it will organize the meeting for me based on that. I said next week, Friday, it's going to look at the best possible time for those participants, and it's going to send out the invite for everybody there. So one of the first steps that we're making towards some of the personal assistant capabilities that I've got going. So, I've dealt with my actions, I've sent a couple of things, I've worked with Gail, I've had a look. It looks like I'm pretty okay for the time being. I've got a suitcase waiting for me outside, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. And while I am, I'm just going to jump over to my mobile device at the same time. And as I'm walking down to grab my suitcase that I've got there, you see that I'm in my mobile device at the moment, in my actions view, so these are all the things that I needed to complete. And you remember at the start there that I accepted one of the items as an action, which was to welcome all Clemens. And you may notice that as I jump through, that I now have 6 responses since the time that I accepted that as an action to now. Which means that a bunch of people have already said welcome, and I'm sure I'll meet Paul sometime, so it may not be necessary for me to do anything right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swipe over to the right on this and say, well, this is no longer something I need to keep track of. It's no longer an action of mine, so I'm going to mark it as complete and remove that from my view there. Now, one final thing is I noticed at the bottom there that in my calendar I have 2 new prompts, 2 new invitations that have come through while I've been walking. So I can very easily jump through here, and you can see that I have not only my month calendar, but also my specific day at the bottom there. But at the top, I have 2 invitations that have come through. And one of them is from Samantha about the pricing follow-up. So remember I sent Gail that email about the sales that we just did a second ago? Well, it looks like she's followed up with one of her colleagues and asked her to get in touch with me. So again, I'm just going to swipe across and accept this as a meeting invite. And it's currently 9:59, and I think that meeting was for 10 o'clock, so I'm just going to idly wait on the home page. It's going to get 10 o'clock eventually. There we go. Okay, cool. It's all good. Okay. And yeah, so it sees that I get a prompt now on my phone to give me an option about my client meeting, which just happened. But because all of those details were included in the invite, you see I have the ability to dial the conference straight away, so I don't have to worry about the numbers and all the things that are going on. And I have a couple of other options, but most importantly, I can attend the meeting that was attached to this. And so I can very easily just say, okay, right, I'm going to jump into this meeting here, and we can then start discussing and going through. And all the while, still walking around trying to find my suitcase that I actually have all the clothes that I need. So that was what we wanted to show you in Verse. As you can see, hopefully it gives you an idea of how we might do things a little differently, a little simpler, a little easier, and a little more efficiently. So, Kramer?
Thank you. Okay, hopefully you saw up at the top there as well, and important to me in the pinned favorites. That's the first step, okay? The focus on the people who are important to you. What we have working inside IBM already that will not GA initially, but we'll have that coming shortly, is groups, or what we call sets. And that's where more than one person can be pinned together. So now you can think about this as a team, or maybe a customer who might have 3 or 4 contacts that you're working with. You have all of their information together, and that's presented to you, so you don't have to look through your inbox to find the latest email or share or meeting or chat or other information by that customer. So the whole idea is to get better focus and faster perspective on who and what's important. So I'm going to go kind of quick here so we can get to Renee, and I know I'm a little bit over time. I'm going to skip the mail onboarding demo. It's I'll show you just maybe 10 seconds of this, and then Uthi and I will do this in our session. But just so you can get a sense of it, we took design thinking and applied it to the approach on how we actually onboard users. So the whole idea with design thinking is that it's not just the end user product or the end user experience, it's the entire experience from the time you order a product to the time you onboard, to the time you use, to the time you upgrade and move to new platforms. So this whole experience is really, I think you'll find quite delightful. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Couple last charts. The architecture chart, we'll spend some time on that later as well. The key point on this is the Verse environment is based on the Domino server. So you can see that in the middle. We're going to continue there. We're building on our SCN investment. So this is technology that's not brand new. I mean, we've been in market for a number of years. The browser on the workstation is modern. That has been updated. That is HTML5 and a lot of the industry standard tools like cascading style sheets and The editors are updated and other things. So that is new, and that's what you're seeing. But the inner workings are based on rock solid technology. Over to the right, you can see the integration with Connections and some of the services we have. And I'll spend some more time on where we're going. We've got integrations with 4 services now. We're going to extend those to additional social services in the next update. So we'll spend some time there today at 1:30. And then in addition, I wanted to give a shout out to Maurice and Omar's session, which is later on today as well. So we'll actually dive in and spend some more time and understand how to use it. Okay, my last point is what's coming up next. I mentioned the sets. That's a big one. We've seen the personal assistant, already working essentially. Just imagine what we can do there. This environment, our day-to-day lives are so impacted by inefficiencies. Some advanced analytics can actually help us quite a bit. And I think I've hit most of these other ones as well, including the Verse on premises. So finally, the last chart actually is our roadmap chart. And this is essentially a public commitment that should be well known to all of you. That when we put a product in market, we have a 3+5, a 5+3 commitment to the market of keeping subscription and support going, and then an additional 3 years of extended support that's available. And there's a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions about Notes and Domino, and are we going to be around? And the question is absolutely yes. I mean, we'd be crazy not to be. This is a huge portfolio, a massive part of our business, hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, and the underpinnings of our strategy moving forward. So if there's any question, hopefully this will give you a good sense of our intent down the road and our commitment with releases that are already in market today. So I can answer questions about that later on. I'm going to skip this video. It's a fun video, but I want to give Renee full time here, and let's go into the final session. We'll play this video later on with Buffet. So thank you all very much for that for your time. I think I went a little bit long.
Good morning. So we're going to use the next. I'm going to try to speed this up, so maybe I get the 15 down to 12 minutes, and give you a quick glimpse into a really exciting year that we have ahead of us. Because with IBM Connections, we are going to deliver a whole slew of new capabilities throughout the year. And I have a little bit of a demo here where we are going to see some of those items that you see up on the screen right now. So I'm going to highlight a few, and then throughout, you'll actually see all these new capabilities. It is kind of small, isn't it? But it does say IBM Connections Next User Experience. And this is really quite a departure from the user experience that you know today from Connections. It's going to look quite different, highlighting items that you need to work on much more, tying in with the Verse theme is the most important thing here. So rather than me explaining it in words, I'll show you what it looks like a little later. But the next item on the list here is one that we have heard from many customers and partners for a long time. Give us nested folders on the files. And as you know, Connections files has only a single level of folders in my files, but no folders at all in communities. So this is something that we're going to add later this year for my files and community files, and the Sim will work with it the whole 9 yards. So this is one of the big things that we work on. That is community customization and custom apps is another really important part, especially for the partners in the room here. We will allow communities to be more flexible in how you can move things around. You can rename widgets that are now apps, and you can actually tie in third-party apps into the community easier. So that's another big step that we will do around communities, and again, I'll show you some. What I cannot show you is the mobile device management integration that we're enhancing, and we heard that earlier from Kramer as well with Mass 360, Citrix, Mobile, etc. So those are all enhancements that are devices safer. The Outlook support is going to be enhanced, so when you're in Outlook, you can interact with Connections better to post or to retrieve files, etc. And then another big one, which is probably easier seen than explained, is the Watson integration. So the ability to take Watson and make it part of your network. Sounds simple, but that has a profound impact on how you can get things done in the future. And I'll show you that in the demo as well. A simple example of what that can actually mean for your daily life to have something like Watson with its intelligence help you behind the scenes to get your work done. A new files detail page will combine the ability to preview content without having to download it, and leave comments, share, put app mentions in there right in the context of the viewer. So rather than, you see today's files detail page, and you click on the download button so you can actually then view it, and then you go back to leave a comment, it's just way too many clicks. So instead, we will have a new files detail page, all of that in one page, including the viewing, the commenting, and also a nicely placed link to get to the edit with IBM Verse. Okay, the next I'm going to skip, and we'll just go to the demo instead. So this is what IBM Connection Next will look like. You see it's dramatically different. It puts all the important things right on the home page of Connections. And this is the place where I go to in the morning to see what do I need to do, what are the important items in the work, and where I come back to later in the day to refocus on what it is I'm actually doing. Important things can be communities, or it can be, for example, there's one SQL, one of the people I work with. And then on the upper part of the screen, you see items that could come from Verse. For example, there's an email that I need to respond to, but there are also to-dos from activities that I actually need to pay attention to. And I can also add to-dos to this list right here to manage my day. At the lower half, this is where I have updates, projects, and people, and I can add people or communities to it, and this is where the analytics kick in. We share the same analytics that we do with Verse, so it can recommend people, it can recommend communities that it knows that are relevant to me, so I can place them here right on the home page, so I have easy access to it throughout the day. And all these important elements to me give you updates on what needs attention. So we have these little badges up there. So you see we have 9 items from Ron requiring my attention. So I can easily go there. Tying in from Verse, we also add the horizontal calendar bar at the bottom of the page. And you see my next meeting is coming up at 10:30. I can take a quick look at it to see what this meeting is about. So the remarkable thing here is how Verse and Connections come together. That's really the message here. And people can also see if I'm available, like I am right now in my calendar, up in my same time status that we also tie in up there in the right-hand corner. So let's see what actually needs to get done. The first action item here, there's some legal review that needs to be done, and I can actually take that action item and drag it into the calendar to block some time. So really tight integration between Connections and Verse here. This time is now blocked. But I have some free time, I could actually just look at it right away. But I don't know who knows legal stuff. So I don't know who the expert is. The quickest way for me is to just paste in the question here, and then just post it to my activity stream, where people who are following me can actually see it, so I post it. And while I'm there, I can take a quick look at what my colleagues are doing, if there's anything of interest. All right, back on the home page, you see the new bell up there. There's a badge on the bell. That's the new notification center that throughout Connections alerts me if something happened. And you see that the question I just posted, there's Watson commenting on this message. And if I click on it, you see that Watson is actually recommending a document that appears to Watson like something that would help me in answering my question. And that's the key here. If Watson feels confident that it knows the answer, and it's part of my network, it will provide an answer automatically. And you saw how quickly that happens, because Watson is not in meetings, right? He sees what's happening all the time. So response leads to me, I can close the action item, and now it's gone from my list up there. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's Watson for me here. So let's look at Ron. Ron is one of the key leads in this project that we're working on, the Greenwell Coin Mobile project. I can look at the activity stream, see what's new. So here are all the important things that we work on together, messages, updates, etc. Let me give you another look at the profiles page. Profiles page also looks very different from before. You see at a glance how many people are in my network, who I report to, so that's Louise, something about me, but there's also a new highlights box that you see over on the right there. The highlights box is either something that's important to me, what I want to have quick access to in addition to what's on the home page, but more importantly, here I can showcase my work. So colleagues within the organization see what I'm about, what I'm working on. And I can also add highlights, and here again the analytics are kicking in. Because I can add from these suggestions that the analytics make, based on what helped peers of mine in other situations. So I can use most downloaded files, or most commented on item, and add that to my highlights section. Let's move on. Hiding the calendar, we see that Samantha actually commented on one of my messages. So I can click on Samantha's page here, her profile page. But now I'm actually going to do something different. I'm going to switch over to an iPad. So here we see now an iPad, and I'll open up the Connections app. And notice where this app is jumping to. This is the continuity between the desktop and the mobile device, because it jumps straight to Samantha's profile on the device. So I don't have to do these 5 clicks to go to where I left off on the device, because I just have to run to a meeting, but I want to keep that context. So this is really, really convenient. I can look through Samantha's files, and there's one called Mobile Coin Planning. And this here is the new files detail page that we already have on mobile that gives you the feeling where we're going on the browser as well, because you see the documents there that you can scroll through, you have the comments, and most importantly, I can also take that file and mark it for sync. So this will be now synced, downloaded to my device, and kept current if changes on the server occur. So I can also, of course, share, but I can share externally, not only internally. So this whole external user model, of course, is fully supported here. So I can add Claire, who is an external user. I can add comments with add mentions, of course, all within the context here. So we'll just go through this really quickly because you're all familiar with that. The key point here is with Connections Mobile, you have the full power of Connections in the palm of your hand. Right? So everything's right there. So going back to the homepage, let's have a look at the Greenwell Coin project. So this is the big project that Ron and others and I are working on. By clicking once on it, you see the activity screen that shows you what has happened recently in the community. But you can also, of course, break out into the complete homepage of the community. And as you see here, this is now completely different. So this is your good old community, but really different. The idea here is we have the different apps. So at the bottom there are 5 apps that you can place, so you can move about. There's trending content, files that have recently been updated, items that need my response to this community, and also key contributors and stuff that I owe the community that I need to work on. Right? So these are all apps. You can put different ones in there. The owner of the community can control that. And these can also be third-party apps. Another item that the owner here changed is the navigation on top. So right now you see still the navigation on top with the overview, recent updates. I just selected the market news, and this jumps, as you can see, to a blog. Because not only can you change the navigation where it's positioned, you can also rename the apps. So blog is not necessarily a blog anymore, because it doesn't mean anything to anyone, right? You don't know what's in the blog. But now you can call it market news. You go there, and then you have something that Ron posted earlier, giving you actually information about market news. Same with files. There are different types of files. If I want strategy documents, why can I not call the files application strategy documents? And that's exactly what we did here. So I can click on strategy documents, have my files with a grid view, but you see over on the left, you see the folders, and the folders have triangles next to them, which means you can open them up, and then you see the folder hierarchy beneath it. concept is exactly the same as you just saw on mobile. So you have a beautiful preview, you can scroll through the pages, you can see who's shared with, you can leave comments there, or you can also click on additional information. And this is where another work item for 2015 comes into the fold, where we work with the Founding team to work on different ways to integrate with Founding Content Manager or even Content Navigator that you see as a link there at the bottom, open in Navigator, where you can add more advanced document management capabilities if needed. But regardless what you use, whether it's File, CCM, or Navigator, all of these integrate with IBM Docs. So with a simple click on the Edit button there, you will actually open up IBM Docs as the editor and you can make the changes in the document. And that was a really fast demo to catch up for some time, but I have a full hour later today at 4 o'clock. So I hope I see most of you there, and then we'll go into more detail on what's coming in 2015 for Connections. And with that, back to you.
Thanks, Renee. I just wanted to spend 5 seconds before I turn the opening session here over to Gio again. I want to say something. First, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you in the audience are already on Verse? How many have signed up to get on Verse and are provisioned yet? Everybody with hands down. You got a real call to action here. Go sign up for Verse. Go look at it. Go find out what it is. Also, I really suggest everybody to, if they're not there yet, really have a serious look at what Connections Cloud actually offers today. Even for an existing hosted on-premises customer, you can use Connections in the cloud to help you manage your profiles, manage your files, and so forth. And that is a wonderful value proposition that sits around that. Go investigate the Connections Files Cloud, what that could do for you versus what you might be doing already with Dropbox. Have a serious look at some of the things we do where we are actually very aggressively working on, getting into that business, taking out Dropbox, taking out Gmail, taking out WebEx. And I think that if you look at what we're providing, we're making some very serious approaches towards that. I'll certainly recommend you to look at that and certainly participate in any of the beta programs that we have on the Verse offerings here. So that was the opening, and I'd like to turn the word over to Gio, and thank from IBM for this, and apologize, we went a few minutes over time. We tried to stay on time, but